Now, I know that this subject is going to be really close to Anthea's heart. And Anthea, you're still here, aren't you? Yay! Anthea is still with us. Now, a woman, she's written to a problem page with a dilemma about her new partner and his son. The woman, who already has 2 daughters of her own, has been told in, well, no uncertain terms, that she will have no rights or responsibility over her partner's child. And all the parenting will be done by him and his ex. Now, she's absolutely fine with this, and she is relieved that she won't have to be responsible for a new child. But those around her have said that it seems a bit of an odd thing to do. So what do we think? Is there anything wrong with being a hands-off step-parent? And Coleen, I'll ask you this first.
Well, listen, and if I was going to be a step-parent and somebody said to me, you don't have to have, you know, all the hard jobs to do with the kid, you just need to be its friend, then absolutely, as a step-parent, that'd be great. However, I think if you're going to have a child in the house with 2 of you, there has to be an element of where you're both entitled to be in control. And there has to, obviously, there'll be a line of what that control is. But I know with Ray, you know, when I first met Ray, Shane and Jake were like 8 and 12 or something. And I think if I hadn't have let Ray take some of the control, which he had a right to do, we were all living in the same house. And remember, kids are very clever at playing biological parents off against one another. So you can imagine with step parents. And I think if I hadn't have given Ray the go ahead to say, yes, you can absolutely, if they are out of order, you have a right to tell them off in our house. And I think if I hadn't have given him that right, I don't think my boys would have turned out as well as they did, because he was brilliant with it. It was always fair. And if I did disagree with him, we'd talk about it when the boys weren't there. But it made him then feel such a...
We'll never know what he was. She made feel such a part of. Anthea, can I ask you, because you became a stepmother to 3 very young girls who obviously were in your life for a very, very long time and joyfully are still in your life now.
Still are.
But what was the parenting sort of setup, in so much as, were you an equal disciplinarian or were you hands off? How did it work?
Oh, no, very much hands-on. And my story is more or less exactly the same as Colin's. It really is. And I think those children also have to respect the household and respect you. And children like boundaries. And I don't ever remember my ex-husband and I falling out, or I would say one thing, he'd say another. That never happened. And he always actually supported me as well. Not that, to be honest, we ever really, you know, it was a happy household. We never really got into those situations.
But you were like, I know you wanted children of your own, Ants, and you couldn't have them, but you were like the dream mum. Because I remember when my older daughter was young, I've known Anthea for a very long time, and we used to go and see Anthea, and she would have like, oh yeah, I've got this designer T-shirt pack for you, and it was going to a Blue Peter presenter's house. And my daughter, I used to come away and go, I'm such a terrible mother, because you were so involved and, you know, had thought ahead. So when the girls came into your life, you know, Lily and Amelia and Claudia, I mean, they lucked out because they had their mum, who was great as well, but they had you, and you were amazing with them. And, you know, when you went through your problems with Grant, Claudia was actually living with you, wasn't she?
Absolutely. Well, and she, up until a couple of years ago, and she's 24 this year, always did. But I think what's really, really important is that you carve your own path with your stepchildren. It does depend what age they are. And in some ways, it sounds really odd to say, I was very lucky because they were very young. I think it's much more difficult if you're dealing maybe with teenagers. And also if one of the parents as well is putting up barriers. So I think, first of all, everybody has to think of the children. This is not about you now, this is about the children. You're not trying to be their mother. You are, as they say in boxing circles, you're the third man, you're this other person. And I don't want this to sound awful, but all you have to do really is be nice, just get on with them. You're not there to be aggravating, just get on with them. And they come to you. You don't have to force it. They come to you. But also, sort of discipline around the house. You know, the certain things would make you bed and where dirty clothes go, and just all the normal household chores and things that go on in their mum's house and in your house, you keep up, because you can't be Disneyland either. You've got to keep all those, you know, table manners. You can't be the person who lets them get away with everything.
I think the difference is, because when you've you know, you've had a child, you've been around them since birth, it's kind of like this sort of title that you're given, you know, mother or father. I think as a step-parent, you have to earn your relationship with those children, and that actually sometimes makes it even stronger, because you've earned it. You know, if they like you, that's because of the hard work that you've put in.
Yeah. Brenda,
I think, like with Ray, I was going to say with Ray, and I know myself, we put that work in and we got it back.
Yeah, and still do to this day, even though they're grown up now.
Brenda, can I ask you, because obviously when you married your now ex-husband, you already had 2 children.
Yeah.
How did you feel in terms of him becoming their parent?
It was very important for me to have that relationship with him, and it was important for the children to be aware that this was now their stepfather.
Yeah.
I left it to them to the point where, you know, as Anthea was saying, there's a period of time where you build up the trust and everything, and that came where both of them started calling him Dad, and, you know, they came to me and says, can we... And I'm like, you do what you do and what makes you feel good.
Yeah.
But I was very grateful to have that support from Patrick. And, you know, my only thing was, if we're gonna discipline them, please don't... Let's agree. Let's not have any arguments in front of them, to be disagreeing in front of them, because that just sends out mixed messages. So that was the only stipulation for me. But it was, I'm very, very happy that he was a part of them in every single way.
And obviously you're not together anymore, and he's not the father of your children, but do they still see him?
Yeah, I've said to Jamal and Tanisha, you know, if you want to see him for his birthday, I think they saw him for his Christmas and they sent him birthday messages and everything. So, you know, that shouldn't change. That's important to me, that it doesn't change. Just because we're not together anymore, that shouldn't make a difference, because he's been there for most of their lives.
Yeah, which is obviously the same with Anthea as well.